I can say the bonding with the neighbour is very, very good. Last night I didn't know their names, now I know their names.
We have over 200 varieties of flowering plants and shrubs here. There are flowers such as the portulaca, which blooms at 10 o'clock in the morning. Then we have mirabilis that blooms at 4 p.m. So whenever you come, there's always something new to see. Here in front of Block 134 Marsiling Road, we have the largest community garden in Singapore. It took many hours in the sun and rain to grow this garden. I'm Ganesh here. I'm the founder and chairman of the Woodlands Botanical Garden. So a few years back when my mom passed on suddenly, it was a very difficult time for me and my family, and I went into severe depression. So during that time, I needed an outlet for what I was going through, and one thing that always brought me peace and joy since I was a kid was gardening. So I started planting my first few plants. Flowering plants need lots of sun to thrive, and you can't get that in a HDB corridor. That was why I didn't plant them at home. This hill was the best option available, as many HDB blocks are facing it. The first plant that I planted was actually a pink hibiscus. It reminds me of my mom and how much love my mom used to have for all of us and for everyone around her. I spent about $200 to kickstart the garden with some knee-level plants. And so, as the planting went on and on, I tried to find more unique varieties of flowers, like the golden tacoma, then the melastroma. We try to incorporate wildflowers into our garden. They're not traditionally seen elsewhere. So at the start, we had about 50 to 20 plants to more than 1,000 over plants you see here today. So when the residents saw me and my dad gardening, they came down from the block to talk to us and encourage us. Sometimes they would even pass me a bit of cash. About 6 months into our planting, my dad and I started to have volunteers joining us, and the community started to grow even bigger. Of course, there'll be 1 or 2 people who say that, how come you can plant, we cannot plant? So I told them, if NParks had asked me to remove my plants at that time, I would have had to oblige and remove the plants. NParks actually came to find me, and they were saying that I probably have to remove my plants. So I told them, if you think I should remove, fine, but can you have a look at the butterflies and bees here, and you really think that it's worth me removing these plants? And at that point, there were so many butterflies swarming around our plants. It was such a pretty sight. And he told me, okay, why not you submit a proposal to us so that we can make this official. Okay, so this is the proposal we had submitted to NParks. So we have had a very clear layout on where our planting is going to be. So this was the response from NParks. So NParks was extremely happy with our proposal, and they told us we can go ahead and make our garden. So that was a happy day for us.
So NParks came in to give him the advice on site selection, the garden design, and the plant palettes.
So with this support from NParks now, we actually could grow even further and we could do much more things. They helped me write in to my MP, who then helped us to install the water pipe for us.
In the beginning, when we started watering the plants, we didn't have water supply. So what we did is we got some jerry can filled up, bring over to here. Then some residents around here used to see me water. They used to help us to carry. They would carry to the top and leave it at the staircase. That's how I used to water. Now it's much more easier because we have the water pipe installed.
When NParks first approached me, the garden was only about 10 to 15 meters long. But now you can see it has grown to about 2,500 meters square. So when someone wants to bring a plant to plant into our garden, it's not so simple as just taking the plant and putting it into our garden. We still have to ask the relevant authorities for permission, and we must make sure that the plants are suitable for what we are trying to achieve. We actually have 3 groups of volunteers. So one group is actually the group that does purely gardening. We have another group that does infrastructure, like the building our trellises, our aviary. And we have another group that does the decor and festivals. For example, Christmas lighting.
When I first moved into this neighborhood, the hill was just dotted with lots of rocks. Right now, it's like a mini Shangri-La to me.
NParks has just given us more permission to expand our garden even further. To include a butterfly garden, that we could work with more communities and make this an even more beautiful place. When this plant was first planted, I always thought maybe, the most I would get a small little patch, but I never dreamt that the garden would grow to this extent. My mom always loved flowers. Although I started off this garden with my mom in mind, many people have joined me along the way and together with me to remember their loved ones as well. So in a way, this garden is not just a memorial to me and my mom, but actually a memorial to many people. I'm sure she'll be very proud of not just me, but everyone who has worked so hard in this garden with me.
当然了，我们这个地方，我也是来我介绍给讲这个鸟为什么什么什么一大堆给他们听了，好的一只差不多100千都有啊。我这只鸟叫火救鸟。 它的声音我给你听听，哇哦，咯咯咯咯咯咚咚咚这样的声音。莲花梅树别很复杂的声音，很绕的声音啦。人那个白眼圈就喵喵喵的声音跑出来给你们听了。我们的这个159的钓鸟的场所很大。 地方也是很方便，所以吸引到很多各地的鸟友来这边钓鸟啦。我是丁行富，英文叫丁连富。 那个时候我还年轻的时候，我就从事做这个鸟笼。我有做贵的鸟笼，好像比如说2、3千的，我有签我的名在里面。以后他们知道这个鸟笼是安个定做的。
In the late 1970s, a few hobbyists came to Kebun Baru to display their birds. There were no poles then, so what they did was to take a stone, tie a string to it, and throw it over a tree branch. That was how they hoist up their bird cages. But that was not the proper way to hoist up the cages.
1987年的时候，人他就里面有的人就提议了，不然你们是。 那个好新波apply 这个地给我们用来做这个鸟干苗，那个时候我们就去跟他 apply 咯。后来他给批准我们做，我们就做那个干咯。
Mr. Teng was among the few hobbyists who formed the pioneer group to start the club. It was an informal, loose arrangement. But it grew slowly as more players from other constituencies came to know about it. The club was then not so well organized. I was a community volunteer of Kebun Baru, so I gathered a few friends, brainstormed, and decided to register the club as a legal entity in 2008.
大家呢就坐在一起喝咖啡，有时候哎来，我们去咖啡去喝茶，这样就聊咯，交流站在我们这边啊。
The hobbies here, they are very, very passionate people. They come here very early in the morning, even before sunrise, to enjoy the coolness of the morning air and have the morning cuppa and have a chit-chat. And in doing so, it takes away their loneliness and it improves their mental health. The activity peaked in the early 1980s as the club grew through word of mouth. The publicity started when a Facebook page was initiated. That brought also tourists from all over the world.
那你知道那个旅客很喜欢来我们这边啊。当然了，我们这个地方，我也是来我介绍给讲这个鸟为什么什么什么一大堆给他们听啊。好的一次差不多100千都有啊。
I'm a bird enthusiast for 30 years from young until now. We teach the bird to sing by feeding them with vitamins and some green beans and bathe them to make sure the colors of the feather is nice. Because if you don't take care of them, the color become black. So when it's black, it's considered very unhealthy. We call them like this, or we just whistle. He will bow to us and sing to us a little bit only. But teach them to sing, no way. Because every bird have their own voice. So some birds become expensive because of the voice. If the bird is hardworking, they will sing better. So our job is just to make them healthy, make them sing on the pole.
The hobbies come from all walks of life. And when they come here, they are all equal, although they may be from different professions. They can be drivers, they can be company owners, as well as doctors and so on. I don't keep birds myself because my wife has a cat at home. But I still come here practically every Sunday, help to ensure that this place is well kept. So it's part of my, how should I say? It's part of my community work. The competition here has been going on since the early 1980s. And nowadays, we may have 2 or 3 competitions a month. And these competitions are very important for the hobbies because they can then assess how well the birds have been since they've been training them for so many months.
后来这个也因为 COVID 已经2年没有做比赛了，他说：“对，你出来做一场啦。”啊 ，OK 了，我做一场咯，我就选这个7月17号做一个比赛。
In a few weeks' time, we'll have a zebra dove competition here, and we expect about 300 to 400 competitors. They will bring the birds here, and there will be trophies to be won.
Today we have a special day. It's a competition day. So every people here are very excited to see their birds singing properly. They want to see the quality of the birds singing. So if your bird is good, they give high point, your chances of getting prizes is very high. And your bird price also, quality also, sometimes if people want, you can sell or you can just trade in. It's up to individual lah.
During competition, you'll start to sing, and let's see how long they can sing. From there, we have the best split. So whichever the birds, which is the highest endurance, wins the game.
The bird must be beautiful melody. So when you have a beautiful melody, like wow, coo, 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 that is beautiful melody. Some bird is no good melody, they will wow, coo, 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 like that. So the melody you can listen different.
So I participate in this category of baby competition. That make me feel very lucky that I won a placing in the competition.
Actually, Kebun Baru Club singing competition has been here for many, many years. I believe that this culture introduces more young generation and especially to the tourists who take this thing as a attraction of Singapore.
The location here has become very vibrant. It is not frequented by just hobbyists, but residents from various parts of Singapore.
我们尽量观赏鸟的文化发挥出去嘛，在整个新加坡，全世界人知道了嘛。现在旅游局把那个团带着来这边，他们来观赏我们的159了。
每一年的话，我们都会绑350条的国旗啦，3座，但是都是我们2个人在绑。
I think one of the favorite photos I've taken here is really a facade shot of this building, Block 9. I think the symmetrical design of the block as well as the railings really adds a very nice touch to the photos and people really appreciate it.
This block is unique because it was the tallest housing project back in 1963. I think it represents the future of yesterday. I found out that then Prime Minister Lee Kuan Yew did the opening ceremony.
这个Selegie大厦是咱的未来的新加坡的摩天楼。
I believe it was built with the vision of what future of living in Singapore would be like. In those days, high-rise building is very rare. I believe that must have been the MBS of 1963. One of the unique features of this estate is the way that it was built to accommodate the kampong relationships. According to one of the neighbours who had been living here all his life, the neighbours used to communicate with each other by shouting across the quadrangle. And I think it's very kampong style. It is the most Instagrammable HDB flat in Singapore. I think you cannot miss it because our blocks are painted in very vibrant red and white colours. What's more, there are National Day flags in front of every house during the National Day season. You can see photographers coming here from all over Singapore and also all around the world to take the iconic pictures. I always thought the flags were put out by the GRC, but actually it's the effort of a couple, Mr. and Mrs. Lee.
我是 Mr. Lee， 这是 Madam Lee 我太太。我们在这边住了45年。是从2006年开始，我们就过国旗了。每一年的话，我们都会绑350条的国旗啦，3座，但是都是我们2个人在绑。其实我们都是要用到1天多4个小时，但是就是10多年来的，我们都是2个人在做。
绑这个国旗需要2个人，一个绑上面，一个绑下面。下面这边有2个洞。 当时我不知道为什么会做这2个洞啦哈，可是我就想到不要给那个国旗飘上来，看起来比较整齐啦哈。这个就是一个方法来的啦，不过也是蛮吃力的，要尊上尊下哦，需要几天的时间才可以完成。好了，我们过去另外一边绑，另外一边还没有绑完。
我是在1976年，刚好政府开卖的时候，我们就买这边的主屋。我们住在18层楼最高，哇，你觉得很高，因为那时是新加坡是最早的最高的屋子。就是说，以前我搬来的时候，就是它的主屋都是有可以 connect 的，有连接的，我们这边可以过去对面。但是现在翻新后就拆掉这些东西。 就是所说的主屋都没有这样好像鲜艳的那个颜色， 就是从2002年我们就翻新，且又做一个晒衣服的架宽，所以他们把那颜色染成红色跟白色，就是所谓看起来特别有一点独特，所以他们都很喜欢来拍照。
听说1964年顶楼有行动党的办公室，也有 HDB 的俱乐部。
I live here for almost 57 years. That was from October 1965 up till now. In 1960s, there's a recreation club upstairs. They have parties upstairs in the evening, and then they make a lot of noise because I heard people running up and down, and then they were drinking up there, and they were singing. Last time, I could see the National Day Parade. Now it's already blocked by the tall buildings. Actually, there's a lot of happenings here. That's why I like to live here.
绑国旗的话，是因为我们出自于我们自己啊。
这是从2006年开始，当初一些年长的居民要求我们帮忙挂国旗，看在他们行动不便的份上。 我们夫妇就决定帮助他们挂国旗。连那个安迪讲，我老了，等一下绑多头病，这样讲。那个安迪讲，哎呀，不如你们绑啦。这样就从那边开始，我们就想说，哎呀，这边居民也是老了啦，哈，就我们来绑咯，哦，大家 happy 就好了，对呀，每年差不多要到的时候，他们会问我，哎，你几时绑国旗？ 还不要绑国旗呀？我说要绑了，要绑了，他们也很喜欢呐，终于绑完了，从18楼绑到这一层最后一个，明天就有很多人来拍照，很开心。